appreciate that. And if you have your Bibles this morning, and we're going to put it up on the screen, but if you want to turn to a scripture that I'll be reading in just a moment, that'll be in the book of Genesis. It will be the 12th chapter of the book of Genesis, and I will be reading verses 1 through 4. Prior to reading that, I would like to say this, that our mind and the thinking, everything that God does, listen to me, God has a purpose for doing so, and God has an outcome in mind. And so we're going to get a good picture of that, and we're going to be able to look at that in the light of the Jewish people and how they come about and what they became for the Lord. And it was all of God's will that they come into a being. Abraham is the father of the Jews. And in other words, there was no nationality that might be called Jews until Abraham stepped out, did that which God asked him to do, and from the descendants of Abraham, then we have the Jewish people today. You see, let me explain. God wanted some people of himself. At the time prior of talking to Abraham, well, the world was in so much sin and wrong, and didn't acknowledge the living and the true God. They were heathen people, but yet they would worship idols and fake and phony gods, but they wouldn't give God any allegiance at all. So God said, I want some people that I can call mine. I want me some people of my own. Those people would come from the man Abraham. Now, let me read this to you to show you. Now the Lord had said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house. Go into a land that I'm going to show you. You see what God was doing? God had chosen this one man, Abraham. And he was going to draw Abraham out from that world and that society and draw him unto himself out from that society of that day and time. And then listen to what he said in verse 2. And said, if you do this, I will make thee a great nation. He said, I will bless thee, and I'll make thy name great, great. And thou shalt be a blessing unto all the people of the world. See a purpose with Abraham being called? Not only see the purpose, but we see the outcome of what God was wanting and what God was shooting for, and it came to be. The Jewish people would be the outcome of what God had called Abraham out to be. That was so vitally important. And thank God that Abraham was a willing man. A willing man. God called him out. Asked for a great thing of his life. To leave his homeland. And leave his father and his mother. And go out searching for a land. And God would show him. That was a big step. And Abraham told his wife, pack it up. We're going. We're going to follow God. We're going to do what I feel in my heart. That a power, the being greater than mankind of eternalness is going. We're going to follow that spirit as the way he's leading me. God made a covenant as well with Abraham. He said, I will bless them that bless you, and I will curse him that curse thee. And in thee all the families of the earth shall be blessed. What did he mean by all the families of the earth will be blessed? Well, it's from Abraham lineage that Jesus was born, to save man from going to hell. And through that, that has been a blessing unto every person, truly unto every born-again Christian. And no, I have settled this thing where I'm going to spend eternity. And they don't live with a wonder or a doubt or I hope that I don't go to hell or I hope I go to heaven. We know we are, see. Abraham departed just as the Lord said. Remember this number, okay? I want you to remember this number, 75, okay? Now, Abraham was 75 years old when God asked him to leave where he lived, go out searching where God was going to show him, okay? And Abraham was 75 years old. Now, I'm not sure that 75 at that day and time is like 75 years to the body now. But, however, it was that he was obedient. Now, by him being obedient, now pay close attention right here. Isaac was Abraham's son. We all heard of Isaac. And Isaac had a son named Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons. And from the 12 sons, that's where we get the 12 tribes of Israel in the Old Testament. Now in verse 7, God made a promise unto Abraham. And it said, and the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. Promise. And God fulfilled that promise, and they did take over the promised land. The land it flowed with milk and honey, and God opened the door and used them in a mighty way, and he did the battles and the fighting for them, and they overcome, and they took over the land that the other heathen people lived in at the time that God promised this to him. Now, Jacob's son, Joseph. Now, we heard of Joseph in the Bible many times. You see, well, Joseph wound up in Egypt. And it was of God's plan and God's purpose, remember that, and for an outcome within God's mind. God's got a plan, and he's got a purpose in the plan of calling Abraham because he wants a people of his own, just like he does today, but through, not a man, but through Jesus Christ. Now we remember the story of Joseph, right? The one with the coat of many colors. And you remember that Joseph's brother sold him to some merchants.
30 pieces of silver.
The what?
But 30 pieces of silver.
That's right. That's exactly right. Sold him to the merchants. Well, they were jealous of him, and they thought they might kill him, but they didn't want to kill him, so this is what happened. Merchants came by, and so they sold him. You know what you? Now, that is bad, isn't it? That is a terrible thing for them boys to do to their brother. God's in the middle of everything I'm telling you right now. And so Joseph was taken to Egypt, and he was sold unto Potiphar, an officer of the Pharaoh, who is the king. And Joseph became the chief steward in the household of Potiphar. And we see that there is something in the making, can't we not? I mean, to be sold out from his brothers and be taken into Egypt. But look at what he rose to be in Egypt, okay? And that he becomes the chief steward of the household. I can see something in the making, can you not? And you see something in the making. We're going to come to that too. The Bible said there was a great famine in the land. Okay? In the land land that Jacob lived in. Now, okay? Just in there. But it didn't take place down in Egypt. It just took place in the land where Jacob was. Hey, that's strange. I'm telling you, God's in this. Watch this. And so Egypt is not affected of that. And when everybody else was starving to death, Egypt, listen, by the leadership of Joseph, Egypt had all kinds of food or grain. And they were offering it up and they were selling it out to help out other people. Well, Jacob said, boys, we made everything we got. And he said, I'm going to send 10 of you down there into Egypt to buy food or grain and to bring back home. So that's what I'm going to do. Joseph was over the selling of the grain. So when they got there, they come to face with Joseph. They didn't recognize him at the moment. Later they did. They bought grain. They come back again, maybe bought grain. And so it was that Joseph said and revealed himself to his brother of who he was. And he said, I want you to go back home and bring your baby brother. And I want you to bring our dad down here where I am. I'm going to make life anew for you guys. I'm going to take care of you. And so it was that Jacob and his family moved into Egypt. Now, God's wanting a group of people to call his own. There were 70 people that went into Egypt out of Jacob's family. Estimated to be about 70. Well, they were in Egypt for 430 years. As a matter of fact, when Pharaoh was talking about all the little boys to be thrown in the river and everything, and he told the midwives to do that, and they didn't do it. Some maybe, some didn't. And he said, what's going on? He said, I tell you right now, buddy, these Jewish women are not like the Egyptians, that they're popping babies every day, man. They had one child after another for 430 years. And it's estimated at least 2 million plus over 430 years were in Egypt. But Moses let them out. God's got him some people, didn't he? That's what he wanted. Boy, 2 million strong of Jewish people that he called his very own. For the calling of Abraham, God had a plan and God had a purpose with an outcome in mind. I want some people of my very own. And God did. Raise up a nation and a people for his own. That's a beautiful story how God worked. From Abraham all the way to Exodus, how God come about doing what he wanted to do, that he would have some people of his son that would worship him. Now, that is a tremendous illustration of God. In everything that he does, he has a purpose, and there's always an outcome. And he does his purpose for an outcome. Okay? Now I want to share with you, my life from the time I was saved, okay? And I want to just show you how God has worked in my life. I had no idea God was doing a work in my life when I first got saved. But now I look back, other night or other day, in a split of a second, just so fast, I saw my whole life from the day I was saved. And I began to think about what I saw. Wow. It about blew me away. I can see back that God did have his hand on my life. It started with the family I was born in. My mom and daddy were Christian people. And I was taken to church from being a baby. And mom and daddy, Howard and Claire Farmer, and they went to church at the First Western Bethlehem City. And that's where I grew up in church, you see. Now, that's the first thing, that I was born, thank God, with a mother and a daddy who was a Christian. That was vitally important. Well, the next major thing that happened in my life, when I was 18 years old, at a time that I didn't realize how major that this was, till I got to thinking about it. I met the prettiest girl you ever seen in your life. Ooh, my goodness gracious. And her name was Sam Clark. Now, that's her nickname. She's female. Always had to kind of get that straight, you know, this day and time. Well, I didn't see God in this, in my meeting her, that she come to work just for the summer at a textile plant that her mother worked at and that I worked at, and that's how I met this girl. Oh, by coincidence? Hang on. I didn't see God in this. All I could see is I wanted to marry that girl. Sure did. And in 1971, Sam became my bride. That was a major part of who I become. The girl I married, and the girl I married allowed me to quit my job and go to Fruitland for 2 years, and she kept us up. Well, it just so happened that I married a girl who had a Christian family. A mother and daddy that was devoted Christians. So I wasn't afraid of church, so I started going to church with her. And in the fall of 1970, on a Sunday night, I got saved. Folks, I can close my eyes and I can see exactly where I was sitting. And my wife, with the girlfriend at that time, and Mabel Messer was there. I can see that. That was the night God got a hold of my heart, and I went down and asked the Lord to come into my life, and I wanted to be saved. I didn't want to go to hell. Well, her daddy, Tom Clark, played a major role in my life. Now, I married a girl who got me going to a Baptist church where I got saved, and her daddy's a very devoted Christian, very knowledgeable of the Bible, and a man that was his best friend at Bethlehem Church, the old one, was Jim Monroe, and both these men played a tremendous life in my young Christian life. You just don't know how much they helped me. Greatly. Well, for some reason, after I got saved, I had a desire to read the Bible. Well, see, I thought that's what all Christians did, but it was later in life I found out that wasn't true. But when I thought when a person got saved, he wanted to read the Bible, but that's not so. But for me, I wanted to study the Word of God. I wanted to read the Bible. I read the Gospels over and over, you see. And so when I was reading, I was learning things, and that I got so excited about, I couldn't wait till I could find somebody to tell them about the verses and about Jesus and what he did for us. Well, that desire turned into a desire to become a preacher. But I had a reading disability. And my thoughts were then, how in the world would I ever be able to go be schooled with the ability of reading? And in 1975, my wife was okay with it. I quit my job and I enrolled, which is now Fruit and Bible College. Dusty was what, 2 years old? Dusty was 2 years old. I walked off and left a wife and a 2-year-old boy, and I spent the whole week up in Fruit and come home on Friday, and Monday afternoon I was gone again for 24 months. Now listen to this. The second day of school and the second class was a reading class. See, Fruitland was designed that guys that couldn't go to college or seminary and married, but they feel called, that could have a place to come and be schooled to know how to step into the role of a pastor. And so one of those was, it's not all of them, there was a lot of them that had a reading disability like me. I went in there, and they gave me a test, and I had a 4th grade reading level. Now, you've heard this many times. A 4th grade reading level at 25. In 24 months' time, I had a 9th grade reading level when I graduated. But, and made good grades, really did. I'd show you my grades. Made good grades. But would I ever be able to get a church? There's no assurance of that. Graduating in September 1977, December of 1977, Hardin called me as their pastor. Now, you're not going to believe this. I want you to listen to this. How did that come about? How did that happen? You see? Well, when I was about 5 years old, my daddy and a man named Tom Boggs would go rabbit hunting 2 or 3 times a week. Daddy had some dogs. Well, when they'd go rabbit hunting, see, Daddy knew this man way back, but it plays a role. His wife was named Catherine. Well, he would take me over and drop me off while him and Tom went rabbit hunting, and I stayed with Catherine. Well, Catherine's sister was Dot Hovis. Dot Hovis was on the search committee at Harvard. Catherine knew that I was in school, and she knew about the graduation, and they had an interim, okay, at Harvard, but Dr. Woodall got sick, went to the hospital, diagnosed this cancer, and said he wasn't going to be able to return. Catherine tells Dot, who is on the search committee at Harvard, that Fane has graduated, Fane Farmer, y'all ought to call him to come over and fill in for you. Well, lo and behold, they did. For about 4 weeks straight. And I guess he liked it, so they met with us and they called us to be the pastor. If it had not been for the family I was born in, the girl I married, Tom and Jim, Fruit and Bible Institute, born in a Christian family, Tom Boggs, Captain Boggs, all of this led to Dot, that I became to carry my first church. 24 years later, I sent my resume out to 8 churches. And what I gathered here was that the committee had been working here for a good while, and they had kind of narrowed their search down to so many, I think maybe 3. So they was going to have a meeting to say, now we got 3, now, let's see. Who would we want to call first for an interview or whatever, okay? Well, in that meeting, I think that my name was brought up, that someone had heard that I may be making a move. They said, well, we're not going to make a decision Steve Gregory, can you find out something from family? Well, my resume was in the mail. They didn't know it. I didn't know what was going on here. Got here on a Monday. Secretary gave it to Steve. They had another meeting on Wednesday, and Steve walked in and had my resume in his hand. Isn't that so? So from that, we had a meeting. And I come away from that meeting knowing that at that time, the church I pastor right now needed a pastor that would love the people and wouldn't make a quick change. You see, they couldn't keep one, and then they got one they can't get rid of. Because there was 5 pastors in 2 years. I mean, they would just use them for stepping stones and a lot of other things, and it wasn't a church fault, but, you know, here we go. And so now, I have been the pastor here now for 17 years. Amen. You see God's hand in my life from the day I was born. Just like it was with Abraham once again. I got to thinking about that when that flashed through my mind, and I had never really put everything together in the way that it come across my mind. I'm telling you, it was like across my mind. You know. And because in my mind, I could see the whole big picture. Now, how was I going to put the picture? I realized that with Abraham is what I was going to speak on today. God, in everything he does, he has a purpose for an outcome. Now, I've always, heard of pastors retiring, and I would say, how do you make that decision? I rightly did not understand those ages. Not at all, And they said, when the time comes, you'll know. What? Time comes, I'll know. I thought, I don't understand that too well either, but that's what they said, Well, lo and behold, probably in about the last year, my wife and I have been discussing this.